So we're going to go spin this Bonanza. Holy cow, we're going to spin a Bonanza? You got to be kidding me. Well, I like spins. I think they're fun. And so we're just going to go out and do it. We're going to spin this Bonanza. So stick with us on FlyWire while we check that out. Hi, I'm Scott Purdue. Today on FlyWire, we're going to do a little legal academics about how to get into and out of a spin. Okay, I'll caveat this right away is, yeah, this is a Bonanza, but it's an F-33C Bonanza, so it's legal to do this. Other Bonanzas aren't. And I don't even want to get into discussion of, well, it'll do it. The F-33A will, or the A-36 will, or V-35B. I don't care about that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. It's ludicrous to even talk about it. This is an aerobatic Bonanza, and it's legal to do it, and we're going to do spins today. So it's actually kind of the same profile if you had a departure in a regular Bonanza. So no big deal in this one. All right. So I'm not going to show we start off. We go into the area, and this is just about spins. The video is just about spins. How to get into and out of the spin in this airplane. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the area and a working area, and then FAA wants you to be 1,500 feet above the ground when you finish a maneuver, and we're going to do more than that. I'm going to be about 4,000. We're going to start this 4 to 5, maybe 6,000 feet. So we got about 5,000 feet more underneath us in case something goes wrong. Of course, we're going to be wearing parachutes, and because I'm solo today, I don't have to wear a parachute. We do clearing turns when we get to the area. In the age of ADS-B, you know, we got the little telltale sound where airplanes are and all that, but frankly, you can't trust those. So you got to clear it with your eyeballs, Mark 1 eyeball. So we're going to clear the area. I'm not going to show that in the video. It just happened, or will happen. And once we've done that, we set up for the spin, okay? And first thing you want to do for a spin, to have a spin happen to begin with anyway, requires stall and then yaw. So we're going to stall the airplane, fully stall the airplane, and we're going to do a left spin. I'm going to kick left rudder, okay? And I'm only going to do one turn. I don't need to do much more than that to show you the reactions. And if you watch the Eagle Academics video about the intro to upset prevention and recovery training, I talked about SA, situational awareness, and how do we build that? Well, there's one way we build it for an upset, but then how do we build it for this? There's all kinds of mnemonics, and people in aviation really like using mnemonics, and that's like it's an abbreviated word that you can use to remind you to do these things. GUMP is one, cigar. I mean, there's all kinds of mnemonics for everything. If you're like me, it doesn't work real well. I don't like mnemonics. I like actions. I like talking about actions. So PARE, pair, is a real popular one out there for spins. To me, it's unless you do them a lot and you think about that, you're not going to remember it. But you can remember the actions it takes when the world starts to go sideways out the window. Okay, so the first thing we do, and this is an SA building thing, and is we're going to stabilize the airplane, okay? And you do that by pulling the throttle, physically pulling the throttle to idle. And sure, when we start the spin, we're going to do it with the throttle and idle, but I don't care. That's just a setup. What we're doing is we're acting and training like this has happened to us in the real world and it's totally unexpected. So the throttle comes to idle. And then we neutralize the ailerons because we don't want any adverse yaw. And you think about this, you may not know or may not remember the whole adverse yaw thing when you're doing your private, but every time you turn into like we're doing a right turn, well, the airplane actually wants to yaw to the left, okay, because of the drag on that side. It wants to yaw to the left, and that's called adverse yaw. And that's why you use a little rudder, okay? That's why you coordinate a little rudder, so you stay coordinated and you don't yaw opposite the turn. So adverse yaw can get us in trouble. So you need two things to spin, right? You need stall and then yaw. So if we use the aileron at high AOA, we're going to get adverse yaw, and then we're really close to departure. Not a good idea. So anytime we're at high AOA, we're going to use the rudder. So once again, I'm going to do idle. Power is going to come to idle. I'm going to check it at idle. I'm going to physically pull it to idle. I'm going to neutralize the ailerons, and then I'm going to go full aft on the elevator. And the reason I go full aft on the elevator is I want as much airflow, the relative wind, presenting to the rudder that I possibly can. Okay, I don't care about any other consideration at this point. I need to stabilize the airplane and present as much rudder to the relative wind as I can, because that's my recovery. Okay, that's how we're going to recover the airplane, is we're going to stop the yaw with the rudder. Okay, so idle, neutral, aft. If the world starts to go sideways, we idle, neutral, aft, and then we can determine which direction what direction spin is. Okay, so I'm going to do a left spin in the video here, but what you do is you look out the window, and if the ground's going that way, okay, then what that means is you're in a left spin. If it's going that way, then you step on that foot. Okay, if it's going that way, that means we're in a right spin, and you step on the left foot. Step on the foot that the ground is going towards. Okay, it can't really get simpler than that. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't really fit in your brain, then what you want to do is step on the heavy rudder, because what'll happen is the light rudder, the one that's blanked out, will be the direction you're spinning. So the one opposite to the turn, to the spin, will be the one you want to press. It'll be harder to press, so you step on the hard rudder. Okay, that actually comes into play later on when we talk about the Beggs-Mueller recovery, and this airplane does a wonderful Beggs-Mueller recovery. Okay, so we've done that. Idle, neutral, aft. Okay, spin left, rudder right. Okay, now what's going to happen here when we go right, and you'll see some video here of how far the rudder goes. It doesn't really go that far. It's going to break the yaw, and once the yaw breaks, then it's kind of simultaneously, actually, as we put rudder in. I lead with the rudder, any turn, right? You lead with the rudder. I lead with the rudder, and then I'll go to neutral on the elevator. I don't want to go over neutral. I want to go to neutral on the elevator, okay? And my muscle memory should be, right about here is neutral. I'm used to doing that. So I'll lead with the rudder right for left spin, and neutral on the elevator. And then what will happen is, as the yaw stops, the airplane will end up in a dive, okay? And now I take, once I don't see the ground rotating anymore, I pull out the rudder. I neutralize the rudder. So idle, neutral, aft, spin left, rudder right, neutral on the elevator, and then when the ground stops moving, I'm neutral on the rudder, and I recover from the dive. Okay, and if we do it all right, it'll take about 1,000 feet to do. One thing is the ball is unreliable. If you want to use needle and ball, don't believe the ball. Okay, you can use the needle or the airplane, the turn coordinator, to help you determine what direction the spin is, but don't believe the ball at all. It's not going to be reliable. Okay, so there we go. We're going to get into the spin, and we're going to recover from the spin. And one thing I want you to notice on this is that the spin is almost in the vertical. I mean, if you want to find a way to put the nose down vertical in this particular airplane, it's going to do that. You depart the airplane, man, you're going to see it. It's going to be eye-opening. So the thing about recovering from a spin, especially an inadvertent one, is, you don't concentrate on, holy cow, look at all that ground. Okay? That really doesn't matter to you at this point. What matters to you is identify what direction the ground is going. Is it going that way? Is it going that way? Okay, you stabilize the airplane, idle, neutral, aft, and you figure out which direction the ground is going. You step on that. Okay, and then you neutralize the elevator, and when the ground stops moving, you neutralize the rudder, and you recover from the dive. And here's why you neutralize the elevator. I've taught students before where they go over on the elevator, they push it further, and what happens is during the recovery, you're going to get negative. It's going to tuck under like that, and how much it tucks under is a function of how far over you put it. Okay, how far you put the elevator instead of from neutral. All right, and the reason also why you neutralize the rudder is, once again, this is experience, is I've been with students who just, holy rip, they've never seen that much ground before. They successfully get the rudder in, and they pop the elevator, and they leave the rudder end. Okay, so what happens if you leave the rudder in and you start recovering from the dive, is you're going to do what's known as a crossover stall. So instead of doing an upright stall, you know, in this case left direction, you leave the rudder in and you start recovering from the dive, you're going to go into a crossover stall, another stall and a spin, this one the opposite direction, and it's probably going to be inverted. So it's kind of important to go through those steps. Idle, neutral, aft, spin left, rudder right, elevator neutral, rudder neutral, and then we recover from the spin. So the other thing I want you to think about too is when we look at so much ground, how long it takes to recover from a spin. It's going to be, if we do it well, it's going to be about 1,000 feet, and that's a lot. So you're not going to recover from a spin at pattern altitude. What we're going to need to do is a spin prevent, and we're going to do that in another video. And in that video, we're going to talk about spin prevent. We're going to talk about Beggs-Mueller, which is another technique for if you just don't know what direction is what, then you do the Beggs-Mueller and the airplane will recover from the spin, because it doesn't really want to spin. You have to hold it there pretty much. So that's it. Let's go fly. Well, that was the spin. It's a lot of fun. I like doing them. We're going to do a few. It's not the major emphasis on this program, on the upset recovery program. If we do if we do aerobatics with you, then we'll do some more spins, because they're a lot of fun. We'll also do left and right. I'm not a big fan of doing inverted. I mean, you can do them, but I don't want to do them because I don't like negative G. I'm a wimp that way. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit subscribe. Where is it going to be? Right down there, and hit the bell for notifications. So I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time on FlyWire.